I am a big fan of most Nintendo properties, but Metroid is a franchise that has passed me by. I have no real reason why, as I love the Metroidvania genre as a whole, and I've always had that inner thought to go back to its roots. However, time has passed and here I am, 30 years into my gaming life, and I've never played a Metroid. It's never too late to start though, and my entry to this franchise is now with Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Metroid Prime is Nintendo's first-person take on this series, but it still has some of those classic genre tropes. The questions I will answer in this review are: is this a good entry for new players? Does this make me want to play more of the franchise? And ultimately, is it a good game? What's up? How's it going, people? Welcome to Casual Gamer Reviews. If you want to support the channel, please consider leaving a like and subscribe, or if you don't like it, then please leave a thumbs down and let me know how I can be better for you. Metroid Prime 4 took me 15 hours to complete, reviewed on Nintendo Switch 2. Metroid Prime 4 and the Prime series as a whole are the first-person Metroids. They play very much like a first-person shooter, and Prime 4 is no different. Samus has her iconic hand cannon equipped to her right arm, which shoots like a semi-automatic but can also be charged for a charged blast. Throughout Prime 4's story, you will find upgrades to the arm cannon which gives it other shot types. Right at the start, in the first area after the prologue, Samus will gain access to missiles, then a fire shot, an ice shot, and an electric shot in that order. These shots are more effective against different types of enemies, like the electric shock against mechanical enemies and the fire shot against pretty much anything in the ice belt. But most importantly, they provide some variation to the shooting. The regular arm cannon is not restricted by any bullets, but the missiles and elemental shots are. Whenever you defeat an enemy, they have the chance to drop a health orb or some ammo for either of those two shots. The shooting actually felt surprisingly good both when firing from the hip and when locking on. The lock on actually lets you deviate from the center by allowing you to continue to free aim if you wish. This helped with boss enemies that had particular weak points you had to hit. I thought the shot types had enough variation to combat the fact that you technically only have one weapon in your arsenal, particularly for a game that is roughly 15 hours. These shot types worked across environmental obstacles too, and in classic Metroid fashion, you will need to remember some areas that you couldn't access when you first passed them and backtrack at a later point when you have the right tool to proceed. This could be with the elemental shots, i.e. you need the fire shot to get into the ice area, for example, but this could also be traversal mechanics you need to unlock. Traversal in Metroid Prime 4 is one of the things that I enjoyed most. You can of course turn into the morph ball, which provides endless entertainment, not to mention how good it looks in these graphics, but also new to this title is Viola, which is the sick bike you have probably seen from the trailers. Let's talk about the morph ball first. The morph ball can be used for a lot of different things in Prime 4. You can use it for traversal to squeeze into tight areas to proceed, you can use it to solve puzzles, and you can also use it for combat. You can unlock powers that lets it climb up walls, gives it a boost, or gives it a mini nuke-like explosion to devastate your enemies. I didn't often use it for combat as the delay of the explosion didn't quite work for the fast-paced nature, especially with creatures launching themselves at you, but I loved using it for traversal and puzzles. It was such a seamless transition between being in first person and being in morph ball mode. Viola, on the other hand, is primarily used for traversal and is introduced to help you cross the vast desert on the planet of Euros. Each of the main destinations are at a corner of this desert, and Viola helps you get there in style. This bike is really fun to ride, and I couldn't help doing donuts and skidding in the sand whenever I could. The bike does have a boost, and it can also fire missiles for combat or do a sweet power slide to blow enemies away. I really like Viola, but honestly, it was something that was used to cover up the fact that this desert's open area is painfully bland and empty. I can only assume that they didn't get to finish the vision of the desert, as it inexplicably has practically nothing in it. There are plenty of green gems scattered about, which I also have a bone to pick with, and I'll pick it up in the story section of this review, but other than that, there is a very small amount of shrines and literally nothing else. Not to mention the lack of music in this area. The desert is just a place that connects the distinct isolated main areas of the game. They are basically their own separate dungeons. There are 5 main dungeons, and I really enjoyed all of these besides the first one. They are really linear. Very rarely there will be a door that you need to come back to when you unlock a new power, but more often than not there will only be one door to go through, and if there is another door, it will be a save room. I was feeling a linear game this time of year as I've just got off the back of 2 massive open world RPGs, but I do understand that people do not like super linear games at the best of times. The final part of the gameplay package of Metroid Prime 4 are the psychic powers. Along your travels, Samus will learn brand new psychic powers to help with combat and traversal. There is the lasso, the grapple, the spider ball, the psychic boots, and the control shot, to name a few. All of these can be used in puzzle solving, and some of them can be used in combat too. The puzzles as a whole in this game never really seem to be too challenging. I would have personally liked them to be a little harder. Not to mention, pretty much all puzzles have hints next to them that you can read. The other part of the psychic skills is the scan. The scan works in 2 ways. It can work to give you deeper lore into your surroundings, or it could exist to tell you how to defeat an enemy. It is almost essential to scan any boss you face, as it is never clear how to beat them at first. I did think this was good game design and I enjoyed it. The boss fights themselves were probably the best aspect of the game for me. They are grand, they are fun, and they are not easy to beat. Each one of them brought new mechanics and all of them felt well designed. Each of the main dungeons has a boss as its finale, but littered in there are a handful of boss fights against the game's main antagonist, Psylocke. These fights will require you to utilize your whole arsenal up to that point, rather than just focusing on your most recent unlocked ability. This is something I don't think games do a lot in the modern era, and I love to see it. It's really important to not make some abilities feel underutilized or underbaked. The Switch 2 version of the game supports both the gyro controls and the mouse controls provided by the Joy-Con. I didn't try the mouse controls as it is awkward to do that in front of a TV. It's probably best for when you are in handheld. I did try the gyro controls though, and they felt pretty good if that's how you want to play, but my preferred way of playing was definitely the Pro controller. Visually, it is hard to deny that Prime 4 is the best looking Nintendo game ever made. Firstly, the game runs at either 4K 60 or 1080p 120 in docked mode, and 1080p 60 or 720p 120 in handheld mode. It is stunning and buttery smooth. The environments are gorgeous, with a special shout out to the Vault Forge, and Samus's new suit is amazing. The Viola suit is so badass. The red is super sleek and awesome. The lighting is amazing, the boss designs are amazing, and the bike is incredible too. The game sports a purple accent throughout due to the psychic powers, and I remember when I first turned into Morph Ball, I was stunned by how great it looked. There is purple pulsing through the arm cannon as well, and it all meshes together excellently. Metroid Prime 4 isn't just about Samus' story, but also other members of the Galactic Federation. I don't think I've seen more realistic looking graphics in a Nintendo game than this. The human faces are really impressive. Prime 4 has a fair amount of cinematics throughout its runtime, and they never fail to impress. If there's one thing you can say benefited from the long development time, it's this. As I mentioned, this is not just Samus' story, but also that of a handful of Galactic Federation members. At the very beginning of the game, during an invasion battle, Samus gets teleported to the planet Vuros, where her mission is to simply collect 5 keys in order to activate the teleport to escape. It really is as basic as that, but honestly I didn't have a problem with it as it reminded me of the good old days. Along the quest, you will meet these 5 other Gal-Fed members who seem to be in a similar predicament to you, and you end up making a little ragtag crew. For most of this game, Samus is alone, which is, from what I can gather, what the other games in the series are like. When she is alongside the Gal-Fed, it can become a bit cheesy, especially with the dialogue, but I did enjoy my goofy little team by the end. The worst bit about the story for me was probably Psylocke, as he is posted as the main antagonist, and while his fights are incredibly fun, I couldn't help but feel like he was shoehorned in with no real purpose. If you take him out, the story is unchanged, and I honestly don't really know why. I guess it's another sign of the troubled development. Then there's the ending. I didn't enjoy the ending at all. It didn't really make sense with what they decided to do, especially considering the story was as basic as it was, but as this is a review, I won't go any deeper than that. To get to this finale, the game puts you in the most frustrating position where you have to collect green crystals in the desert. It does tell you that you need to do this at the very start of the game, but I felt like I was actively going for them at every open opportunity. I was seeking them out whenever I entered the desert in between areas and was having fun collecting them due to Viola, but it still wasn't enough. When I was ready for the finale, it turns out I was only about halfway to the total amount of crystals that I needed. It grinds the game to a halt and I really disliked it. It's nothing more than busy work and padding. The important thing with the story though is that I never once thought I didn't know what was going on. I didn't really need any reference to past games or lore. It was all pretty straightforward and explanatory. If you are a new player like I was, you do not need to be afraid of the number 4 stuck on the end of this title. The score is composed by Kenji Yamamoto and Minako Hamano, Kenji being the composer of all the Prime series and Minako contributing on Prime 3 and other Metroid games. The OST is really fun and I enjoyed it. Once again, I have no reference to the other Metroid games, with this one being my first, but I am used to Nintendo's strong quality of soundtracks across their other IP. I would be happy to say that Prime 4 rubs shoulders with these greats. I particularly think that the main theme and Silux's boss theme are exceptional pieces of music. Oh man, those electric guitars. Samus is not voiced in this game, which can be a little weird sometimes in cutscenes, but all of the Galfed members as well as Silux are voiced. The voice work is to a good quality, but I think the writing lets them down with some really cheesy lines. There are also times when out in the desert when one of the characters will radio into you to tell you where to go. This didn't make any sense to me, as you literally have the ability to call them for hints at any time when in the overworld, so why force it on me? Sometimes I would be out collecting crystals or exploring, or sometimes I was trying to figure something out. I didn't appreciate being told what to do in those moments. There are several pieces of side content that you can engage with in Metroid Prime 4. First are the shrines out in the desert. These are like the shrines we see in Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, where you head underground and have to solve a puzzle. The unfortunate thing here is that A, there's barely any of them, 6 to be exact, and B, the puzzles inside were painfully easy to solve. They could have easily done something similar to Zelda's Ultra Hand with the psychic powers, but they don't. The reward for the shrines are an upgrade to one of the elemental shots. There's 2 to find for each element, hence the 6 shrines. Elsewhere in the game, there are several upgrades you can find for ammo increases in both missiles and elemental shots, Viola boost upgrades, health upgrades, and then upgrades to some of your psychic powers like the Morph Ball shot and the Charge shot. These are mostly hidden around in tough traversal areas, behind locked doors you couldn't pass through in your first visit to a place, behind an environmental puzzle, or shaded away in the desert somewhere. I found a fair amount and completed the game with 70-something% item completion, but there is a good quantity there for those who want to find them. Then there is a gallery on the home screen where you can see cutscenes and development concept art, which is unlocked through doing certain things in the game. Some are tied to completion, some are tied to collection, and some are tied to amiibos. The concept art for this game is really good. I mean, the game is really pretty, so there is no surprise there, so I would definitely consider checking it out. Lastly is that the game does have a hard mode unlocked after you complete it for the first time, so you can have a replay. This does also have some gallery unlocks, which is a nice touch. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is a game that is extremely fun in some aspects and bewildering in others. The gameplay feels great and the visuals and soundtrack are stunning. I love just being hands-on with this game, as the traversal and shooting are really satisfying, the Morph Ball and Viola bike being the high point of this. In addition, the boss fights are some of the best I've ever seen. However, there are some incredibly baffling game design decisions that bring it down. The quite literal empty desert, the cheesy dialogue, the irrelevant main antagonist, and all of the padding and busy work to get to the finale. To answer my questions at the top, the main thing that this game made me want to do is try the other Prime games, as if this is it at its worst, I want to see it at its best. As for whether it is a good game, well, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond gets a casual gamer score of 7.5 out of 10. Check the channel for my recent breakdown of all the big reveals from the Game Awards, or my review of The Outer Worlds 2. I have a big content plan for the rest of December, so please look forward to that. If you enjoyed this content, then please leave a like and subscribe, or if you didn't like it, then leave a thumbs down and let me know how I can be better for you. Let me know if you are going to pick up Metroid Prime 4 in the comments below, and for everything else, casual gamer, keep it here. Peace and love.